Just to give the context so that all of us can walk together, GIZ Global Project, which I'm part of, collaborated with another sister project called E4D, Employment for Development in Africa, operating across different countries. And we supported Site Savers here in Kenya 3 years ago. And the whole idea was to pilot, is it possible that demand-led skills like cybersecurity can also be packaged that targets persons with disability? That particular project led to us understanding, yes, it is possible. Then we said, okay, how can we scale up? How can we replicate that Bridge Academy model? So we partnered with our sister project, Digital Skills for Jobs and Income. Tefo, sitting next to me here. In your view, what was this anchoring point that made us, as two projects, collaborate and say, yes, it is possible. We can also do it in South Africa.
So what attracted us to these programs, Thomas, is that initially we didn't have a specific requirement or support for inclusive digital skills training. So we supported training initiatives in two approaches. One was mainstreaming. We'd encourage our training providers to recruit particularly NEET youth. So NEET is the term we use in South Africa for youth who are not in education, employment and training. Thus being made up of out-of-school youth or unemployed, currently unemployed graduates who are still going through the transitioning phase from education to enter the world of work. So with this target, we also have a particular focus for young women, which is the one we actually follow and look at support towards. So, however, our training initiatives ended up also including persons with disabilities in the training. So we said, okay, if you can include, how are you then supporting youth with disabilities in the training programs? So most of them have been supporting through, to an extent that they've been recruiting types of disabilities to the extent that they can provide support. So that would be through accessible infrastructures, ensuring that this training is accessible and within the vicinities of the youth and their homes, and through mentorship with relatable and industry professionals with disabilities. So two of such programs were also exclusively for women only. One training for call center operations and business process operations, and also providing Microsoft certifications, which is one of the in-demand skills, in-demand vendor accredited associate certifications. And then another was through a software development program for exclusively women only, and then also had an element of youth with disabilities or recruitment of youth with disabilities in their programs. So the interesting and creative part about the second one with for software developers was that they're training the youth towards a software development qualification. However, the work readiness is incorporated into an EdTechpreneur. So this is educational technology entrepreneurship, where the youths are placed in public schools as IT enablers, assisting teachers adopt technology within their classrooms. And also the entrepreneurship element of it is setting up coding clubs in the community and the schools, and having a multiplier effect to also train youth in communities and learners in schools. Then along came Thomas, who sensitized us well about inclusive practices and specific training for persons with disabilities, and a working model that was tried and tested in Kenya through the Bridge Academy. So we endeavored with Thomas to then identify training providers who could look at providing this training, and because we were not so familiar, we admit we relied on Thomas' support and through their networks to ensure that the training providers and partners that we bring on board are able to provide holistic support within our regimen of training. So if it's work readiness, mentorship, placement into employment, and clear pathwaying youth into relevant roles in cybersecurity and other IT-related professions.
Given that we had that commitment, there are specific features that made this program inclusive. I would like to get from Kaz. You come from a company, a private company, offering disability training. Can you please just give us, what is this, what are these ecosystems that makes cybersecurity training possible?
Coming from a private company, Bradshaw Consulting, as disability inclusion specialists, we take training one step back before we even start a project. And what do I mean by that? We ensure that the facilitators, the instructors to any training program, in this case, our cybersecurity training, which is CCNA1, Cisco Certified Networking Associate Program, we build the confidence of the facilitator, the instructors, the teaching assistants, and the tutors, so they understand disability, they understand the barriers, they understand the importance of maybe giving individuals extra time, specifically students, when they are in a training facility, and accommodating for their needs and requirements. So we are giving equal treatment and equal opportunity to everyone by assisting them with reasonable accommodation. The other thing from a training aspect, when it comes to awareness training, what we do, and they mentioned it yesterday, where I think it was Safaricom were also talking about disability awareness training in the different levels of organizations, and we do the same thing in South Africa for private and public sector, as well as international clients. United Nations, Humanities International, where we can talk strategic from an EXCO level, C-suite. We do training for line managers that's specifically designed for that level in an organization. HR, human resources and talent. There's a specific training module that we use to assist HR and talent teams in organizations. And then general employee training, where we focus on etiquette and disclosure. In South Africa, there's something called employment equity, where companies need to meet a certain percentage representation of people with a disability in the organization. And we all know the stereotypes, we all know the stigmas, that surround disability, and we want to desensitize. And what we do in our training sessions for companies and in our academies, in our skills academies, is that we encourage disclosure, because it will allow for people to be heard, number one, and assist them if they need any reasonable accommodation.
You are coming from a non-governmental organization, an OPD. What is so unique about your training, Louis?
The main thing, Thomas, is that we draw the demand from a very dire situation of blind or visually impaired persons that sometimes have never been exposed to a computer, have never touched a computer because of the gap that is there. And therefore, we are a specializing organization, because we take this singular disability in particular as a key thing, because then it would then lead into the type of the ecosystem you need to create for these learners, because you working on your pre-assessment, which include, profiling the learner from the social point of view, also looking at the level of literacy, level of computer literacy specifically, and as well as introducing them into the industry, where the industry, and this is a sensitive work environment. Work in cybersecurity, everybody is very cautious about who do you expose. How safe are you by letting a blind person run your cybersecurity in the company? So the uniqueness then is how your advocacy impacts on changing the attitudes of the industry, as well as enhancing the levels of the learners that you, the cohort that you take on board.
Can we say that cybersecurity training, inclusive cybersecurity training, as we have seen being planted here in Kenya through the Bridge Academy, and somebody sitting on the crowd here today, is it a copy and paste? Is it that easy? Are there challenges?
It's been a lot of learning and unlearning. And I think for us in Kenya, it's been a journey with a lot of partners, first and foremost looking at the entire spectrum from the enrollment. The enrollment, we worked a lot with UDPK, United Disabled Persons of Kenya, and also affiliate OPDs. Thomas, one of the things that we are looking at is also ensuring that, first of all, we consider gender in admitting the learners with disability. So we were looking at 50%, and also ensuring that we have diversity of disability within the admissions. So there are instances when you've had to work with specific OPDs to ensure that we are able to reach out to the individuals representative of that particular disability. So we've been running that for the last 3 years, and I can say we are like wine. With every cohort we get better and better. We are also getting to pick a lot of experiences from South Africa in some of the things that they've done. We are lucky that we almost have the same set of advisors like they do, who've been hand-holding in terms of the setup. One other thing that I want to comment that we've been learning over time is also the issue of enrollment. We only have about 50 slots, yet we receive almost 10 times that number of applicants. So we are also looking and seeing what do we do with these other individuals who are equally competent, but perhaps didn't get an opening within the Bridge IT Academy. If I can just make some few comments. One key learning that we've picked up is the need for in-classroom learning. We are lucky that we've got tutors who understand disability inclusion, and one of the trainers is a person living with disability. So that has created a very steep learning curve, even for the other trainers, and when the learners on board, they hit the ground learning. The second thing that we've picked up is the essence of reasonable accommodation in terms of the environment where the learners are. So in Kenya, we've partnered with the National Industrial Training Authority, which is the top, I can say the biggest training institution in this particular country, and where each and every employer contributes. So that has aided us a lot, and we not only see it as an opportunity for youth with disability, but we see it as a system change, because our particular institution is now committing itself to be able to enroll more learners with disability after the 3rd cohort.
What is the qualifications? Because there is always this impression that cybersecurity, must you have a degree? Must you have a diploma? And secondly, is the training online? Or is it residential? Or is it hybrid? Yes. And what's the gender mix in terms of your training?
The cybersecurity program that we are running is through the Cisco system on the NetAcad platform, and it allows the students to study networking. It's basically introduction to networking, introduction to cybersecurity, and there's a list of topics that go into it. At the end of the day, they will become network engineers and cybersecurity specialists. It is a stepping stone into the Cisco field of study, and it gives them more of an opportunity in the IT space, not just a normal desktop technician, or support. So this is on the back end, this is security. These are making sure that your firewalls are up and your networks are running smoothly. And the way it's done is on a hybrid approach. And I'll speak for South Africa, and what we've done in Johannesburg and Durban is that the students, although they're learning from an on-site instructor, they are performing their practicals and the assessments on a system called Packet Tracer, where you can simulate working on switches, routers, and things like that. But we also have the hardware in class, where they are able to cut and strip and connect network cables to the network switches and to the routers, and they are able to test connectivity with testers and things like that. So they're getting real-world physical experience in networking and cybersecurity. The reason why it's hybrid is we've got an on-site instructor that's also teaching a class in Durban via MS Teams, so it's all live. It's 2 classes in 2 different provinces that are running simultaneously, but both classes have an on-site either an instructor who's the lead instructor and a teacher's assistant. We've also taken another step in granting the students more support, where we've got an ex-student that has completed Cisco Certified Networking Associate program in Algeria. And he's also a person with a disability, and he's now one of our very lovely, and I love him, his name's AJ, and he's one of our tutors, and he logs in with our students 3 times a week, and he gives them that extra support, guidance, and assistance where required.
Our system, and being a pilot project, and we're only 4 months into it, is in class, is a physical seating of learners in class with the facilitator and the assistant facilitator to facilitate access into how to learn. Adaptation had to be made in terms of Packet Tracer, for instance, making it user-friendly, if you want to call it that way, or accessible, and having to train learners how to use that. Because they are in class, then you would have more time in tutoring them.
How about the qualification? What is the qualification for you to come through the door?
So one of the qualifications, we look at the motivation of the individual, and from the last 2 cohorts we've had 100% pass. So we have trainees who are Form 4 leavers. We have other trainees who are college graduates and others who are university graduates. But all of them have gone through the academy and all of them have succeeded.
Can you give us a peep? South Africa, we are yet to be at that particular point of internship into jobs, but we already can see signs. But you have seen the signs. Can you just give us, how have you transited the students?
I think one of the corporates which has really worked with us in this particular journey is Safaricom. From the first cohort, we had about 37 students graduating. 4 of them got jobs, but 34 of them, the other 34 moved on to Safaricom, and they got an 8-month internship. And during that particular period, it was an exposure opportunity and a confidence-building opportunity for these individuals. And we are very delighted that Safaricom was able to retain one of them. And from that particular cohort, we've been working with other partners and OPDs, and about 26 of them already have openings. We are still following up on the others who are remaining, about 8. From the second cohort, about 49 of them finished. 13 of them have been taken up by Safaricom for internship. We are still hoping that we'll continue walking the journey with Safaricom to admit the other 36 who are remaining, because we do feel that the workplace learning is a very big game changer for persons with disability. It not only gives them technical skills, but also builds their confidence. One of the critical things that we've learned is being able to follow with these particular students and being able to support them with other trainings. So, for example, most of the learners who've gone through the CCNA course have also undertaken the Essential Skills for Life training to complement the skills that they have. Then every Friday we also have external trainers who come to talk to them about other life skills.
So in the spirit of inclusion, Africa, there are only 2 countries. I know Nigeria will be soon starting their program, but within the whole spirit of inclusion, how do you see partnership, cooperation at the same time? How do you see partnership? Down the line, will you be seeing students from Namibia or Lesotho coming to your programs? Are they welcomed? Or students from Uganda, Rwanda, Tanzania coming to Kenya?
Are underway with Namibia in partnering with them. But coming here in Nairobi and visiting the Bridge Academy, we even discussed this, that it's even when it would, even for motivation and peer support and sharing, and this is our online courses, and people can connect. They don't have to be there, and so we are open now to say with Bridge Academy here, let's have an open day for learners themselves, talking to one another, assisting one another, and we think that that will enhance and will make Africa integrate.
One of the things I learned from this particular workshop, like artificial intelligence, the more the Bridge Academy spread over Africa, the better for us, because that would help us improve the quality and make it more known onto the outside. And Thomas, I also want to thank GIZ and yourself in particular, because you've been a networker. You believed in an innovative idea when many other people tell you that go try it out and let me see it work before I come in. So you've walked the journey with us, and you're hoping that even for the other countries across the continent, you will walk the journey with them. And like my colleagues from South Africa, we can also look at a formal way of networking and cross-learning.
The Bridge to Opportunity is a global initiative, but with the support from GIZ and the founders of the Bridge to Opportunity, 3 Talents, we are quite grateful and thankful for the opportunities that we are able to upskill youth with a disability and to give them the opportunity of employment.
Let us open up those partnerships. Let us work together, use platforms like this to share experiences and our unique learnings and challenges that have been experienced in training, in order to adapt and replicate and scale more our efforts in a more sustainable manner.